but they're passing it all out. Look, here's the point I'm trying to get at, and then I'll go to the news and take your phone calls coming up. I'll give the number out. We, as a society, have obviously let technology grow at a pace that way outstrips our ability to even understand it as individuals. And the central controllers of our society are idiot savants. They know how to basically juggle the data to a certain extent, and by controlling the overall capital feeds, they can buy up and steer development in a direction they want. But in all the globalist publications, and you can pull these up, all they talk about is establishing a world government and then forcibly reducing our population by at least 80%. And those aren't idle threats by Ted Turner or Dr. Eric Pianka at University of Texas Biology Department, or Peter Singer at Princeton, or Prince Philip or Prince Charles or the Club of Rome or the UN Biological Diversity Assessment in 1996 or Maurice Strong. And anybody who's gone to college knows you've been fed this line about humans being a parasite and we got to reduce the numbers. This is the religion of those that run the globe. My point is they really intend to try to carry it out. All of the jacking poison in the water and cancer viruses in the vaccines and bisphenol A to reduce your fertility, estrogen mimickers, all of that is just macabre beta testing in this thing. I mean, where people are poor and don't have media and can't stand up for themselves, in Africa, Latin America, and Asia, I mean, every day I see articles. We could pull them up. 15 babies die in illegal vaccine test. 31 of 50 homeless in Poland given shot die. CBS News, government polio vaccine program causing polio. And I just look at it. And if you're a new listener and you were joining us during the last segment, and I'm talking about weaponized super viruses, I mean, here's the Boston Globe today. And I really should be more positive because at least this stuff's being somewhat discussed now. Scientists pause research with lab-bred bird flu. It's a super contagious, airborne, highly lethal bird flu. AP reports, again, posted in the Boston Globe. Scientists who created easier to spread versions of the deadly bird flu said yesterday that they are temporarily halting more research as international specialists debate what should happen next. Now, the FBI, as you know, a month ago told them do not publish, as you did with mousepox and airborne Ebola and the rest of it, do not publish how you made it. Because in the case of mousepox that kills 99% of whatever mammal you tailor it for, that was published. $200,000, and you've got the right biochemist, you can make it. And it's public. You think the FBI spies on the internet because they're scared of somebody with the anarchist cookbook? Only thing they'll do with that's blow your hand off. We can survive provocateurs, idiots, numbskulls, bombing a bank or something and killing 3 people. It's a tragedy, but it won't kill billions. And you see, some of the higher level academics will say, well, Alex, they're setting up a global technocracy to stop the release of this stuff. No, it's the technocrats that are making sure that they have weaponized viruses, hundreds of them, in level 2 facilities where you wear gloves and a mask and swipe a card and a door opens. You're supposed to have level 4 bioweapons in underground bases, 3 levels down, with 3 fences with minefields and machine gun nest. I mean, that's federal law. You ever seen the Andromeda strain? That's, of course, a great medical doctor and writer who put that together. It's fiction, but it's based on real level 4 facilities. That's a level 4 facility. In fact, in the old days when they were messing with stuff like this, they reportedly had hydrogen bombs buried under them. Because let me explain something. If this stuff gets out, almost everyone listening to my voice is dead. And I want to know why the people running the world today are putting level 4 human and zoological diseases in level 2 facilities like the University of Texas at Galveston. When they first built it 8 years ago, I said it could be hit by a hurricane. Did you know it was hit by a hurricane and pretty much destroyed? They claim that they got the viruses out before it hit. Again, I know this is a lot more important than the NFL playoffs. That's why I'm here. And I see a global elite running around 24/7 with private bunkers and government bunkers and big corporate bunkers and talking about how great it's going to be, the age after humans, and how the world's going to come back. And the futurists say there'll only be a few 100,000 elitists, and then it'll be this wonderful age where they repopulate the world and build it however they want. And they're just like somebody hyping themselves up to jump off a cliff 300 feet into water. They're just getting themselves hyped up to release it. And then creating a weird pre-nostalgia with all these TV shows and stuff about all humans are about to die, and fake self-fulfilling 2012 prophecy garbage. And they got the churches saying, praise God, it's the end of the world and all this stuff. It doesn't have to be the end of the world if we wake up to what's happening. Because they're not up to the point of their entire military being robot and drone. The globalists cannot carry this out yet by themselves. They're going to need people that work for the system to carry this out. They're not in complete control. I'm on well over 100 radio stations. Just on video streaming sites a week, it's over 5 million people now watching and listening to the show a week, just on video streams on YouTube and some other platforms. I mean, we're challenging the globalists. We weren't in their equation because there's not very many of them. Maybe a few thousand that have most of the puzzle, a few hundred that know it all. And I know why it's so hard for people to understand this, because it's so diabolical. I'm going to give the number out. Last week I took pretty much calls for 2 hours. Today we're just taking them in the last few segments. And I haven't even gotten to the news yet because all the other news is secondary to this. Toll-free number to join us, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. I hope you'll call in on the subject I've raised, the future of humanity and the main threats we face. All right, the big news straight ahead. Okay, Nate, Bobby, Jason, many others, we're going to get to your calls after I go over some of the news now. But here's the Associated Press. Scientists pause research on basically weaponized lab-bred bird flu. Fears raised over lab-bred airborne strains. But notice the main concern is here out of CBS News in Dallas. Dallas plant investigated for dumping pig blood into Trinity River. And they think that some pig blood out of a slaughterhouse might have run out and dripped in a creek and gotten into the river. Oh, my gosh, we're all in so much trouble. And I'm not saying that that isn't important, but compared to airborne weapons that under government contracts, these universities and others are producing, where are the priorities? You know, who's concerned about GMO from Monsanto and others infecting every soybean, every corn, every wheat, every maize variety, as they are? And then in all the big studies, organ failure in the rats that eat it. And so it goes and infects all the other seed lines. And that's not a problem, but a couple, some blood might have gotten a river, though. We're all really scared right now of that pig blood. That's the type of issue that we're talking about here. While we're worried about something like that, the big mega corporations who've basically written the laws and the regulations, and their people are over all the regulatory agencies, they're not even getting looked at. Talking about arrogance, that cruise line disaster? I got a story here out of the London Telegraph. Costa Concordia, insulting cruise offered to survivors. They've offered them a 30% off on their next cruise. Oh, that's funny. That is really, really funny. Isn't that owned by Carnival Cruise Lines? Yeah, I saw that in the news. Costa Concordia, but it's like a sub-corporation. That captains learned from Baghdad Bob and our own criminal government's baloney propaganda spin machine. When the Italian Coast Guard ordered him to get back onto the ship and help people get off, it turned out he ordered dinner on the lifeboat, though. He was having a drink. He said, I fell into the lifeboat on accident, but I'm not going back. And see, if you question an authority figure, that's called conspiracy theory. And we've all been taught that virtue to never question government or big corporations. In fact, they should have just said the whole wreck was a conspiracy theory. Just the ships there sinking on the coast of Italy, just say it didn't happen. And if people show video, just say it's not there. Kind of like I can prove that Al-Qaeda works for the criminals that run our government, that all the major terrorists have been led into the U.S. and are protected, from the underwear bomber on Christmas Day to Anwar al-Awlaki hanging out at the Pentagon. But none of that matters. It's a conspiracy theory. So just say the ship never capsized, never listed, and isn't there. Just say Italy doesn't exist. Because after all, remember Karl Rove's quote about how he controls reality? And you've got a public that sees it as a virtue to get conned, a virtue to get hurt, a virtue to follow all this pablum. Hey, look at this one out of Politico. Federal prosecutor to take the Fifth Amendment and Fast and Furious probe. Oh, it's the prosecutors, the guys that get the bad guys, the guys that get 98% conviction rate. Do you really think 98% of people are guilty? No, for at least 20 years, almost all the federal grand juries are criminals who would send a 1-year-old to the gas chamber if told to. I mean, they will convict anyone they're told to. Okay? Because who runs these grand juries? They're not supposed to, but it's the prosecutors. And, of course, it was all in federal filings a year plus ago. That's why they came up with a cover story of, we just had some guns at some gun shops in Texas and in Arizona and Illinois and some other states. We just had some guns that we were letting be sold to track them down to Mexican drug gangs. Of course, the federal documents from the beginning in federal court that the government declared national security on was that our criminal government, the thing run by the Ponzi scheme banks that, don't worry, you're going to destroy everything. And don't worry, yuppies, you like to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. So just giggle at the radio, have fun, don't worry, you'll get everything you want. It's all real funny to laugh at people that are informed. They said it was to blame the Second Amendment. And, of course, I told you that over a year ago, but CBS News 2 months ago reported that, sure enough, the federal documents have now come out in subpoena that it was all meant to blame the Second Amendment. Of course, that was domestically. Internationally, it was to ship guns into Mexico, but also Texas, Chicago, Indiana, Florida, to give it to drug